Years ago, the world looked a lot different. On March 22nd, 1984, Van Halen's Jump rocked the charts at #1. Police Academy was on its way to becoming a hit at the box office, and gas cost about $1.20 a gallon. But on that same day, a young couple from Independence County was murdered in their Fayetteville home. And tonight, we re-examined some of the evidence in this 32-year-old case that has families on both sides of the crime agreeing on one thing: things don't quite appear as they did back in the 80s. On a farm outside of Batesville, Tommy Bryant watches over his family's land.
I laid awake many nights, hundreds if not 1,000 nights.
He never gets tired of looking through old photos and drawings.
She was very, very talented and full of life.
Reminiscing about the spark of his sister, Karen. But like most brothers,
I don't particularly approve of you dating this guy, but I said, I know I'm not going to talk you out of it, because she was just head over heels in love with him.
And in 1972, Karen married her high school sweetheart, Lee Dixon. The couple moved to Northwest Arkansas with new jobs and a brand new house. Everything seemed picture perfect. She was expecting.
Yes, she was 8.5 months pregnant when she was killed.
Sometime in the early morning hours of March 22nd, 1984, their hillside house on a dead-end street would become the scene of a gruesome crime.
Details are still sketchy, but
the couple was shot multiple times, all while their 3-year-old son slept in another room.
These were cold, calculated, point-blank murders.
Karen's hands and legs were bound, and she was found tied to a chair.
Had a public that was scared. Something like that hadn't happened in Fayetteville, Arkansas before.
Police zeroed in on Dennis Flowers, a good friend of the Dixons who had been seen with Lee multiple times the night before.
I said, did you find his fingerprints? They said no. And I said, well, how do you know it's him? Well, he left his billfold laying there, so we'd find it, so we'd know it was him. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Just a week earlier, state auditors found a shortage of drugs at Lee Dixon's pharmacy.
Lee was mixed up with some bad people.
It's believed the quiet pharmacist was addicted to pharmaceutical-grade cocaine and began skimming from his inventory and selling it with the help of Dennis Flowers. The multi-agency manhunt for Flowers centered around a rural Washington County home Flowers was believed to have broken into.
Police found a quantity of drugs in the car after it was abandoned.
The morning of the murder.
The sheriff's pointing to where they found the body.
Dennis Flowers was found dead in a 3-foot pond 10 days later.
One of the police officers that were present when his body was removed from that pond said that man hasn't been in that pond 10 hours, let alone 10 days.
An autopsy showed Flowers had a massive amount of cocaine in his stomach. His death was ruled a suicide.
Somebody wanted it to look like suicide.
As Tommy sifts through piles of paper and police files, it turns out he wasn't alone in his suspicions.
I think the Flowers family is interested, too, in just what really happened.
Both the Bryant and Flowers families tell me the police theory just doesn't add up.
The idea that a man would brutally murder 2 people and tie one of them up, and yet was dumb enough to only leave a thumbprint on a 7-Up can. I don't know how you pick up a can with your thumb, and no other fingerprints.
The state crime lab did find 23 developed but unidentified fingerprints at the crime scene. While there may be more pieces to the puzzle,
I can't really answer that.
going back in time isn't always easy for law enforcement.
A mystery novel, and we don't have all the pages.
3 generations built on love.
My mother and dad were inseparable like Karen and Lee were.
Now rest side by side.
Afterwards, we found out it was a girl.
While Tommy still grieves, he believes there is no timeline for the truth. And even though Karen was pregnant at the time of the murders, it was considered a double murder. And under the law today, the crimes would be classified as a triple homicide. Just last year, at the request of the Flowers family, police ran the old fingerprints still on file at the state crime lab through the current database, hopeful they might get a lead. To find out their conclusion and hear more of my conversation with police, we posted all of that online at arkansasmatters.com. There you can also read a statement from Dennis's daughter, Dana, and see what a private investigator uncovered.
A lot more to that story. Athletic trainer